Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the complex mechanics of osteoarthritis. We're tossing out that old, tired wear and tear myth and looking at the surprising biological truth behind degenerative joint disease. We'll cover how it starts at a microscopic level, the physical changes you actually experience, and exactly how it's managed.
Here is our game plan for today. 1. The anatomy of joint failure. 2. Clinical and functional changes. 3. We'll spotlight generalized nodal osteoarthritis. And 4. We'll build out a comprehensive management plan. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Anatomy of joint failure, more than wear and tear.
Osteoarthritis doesn't just strike randomly. When you map out the body, this disease has very specific targets. We're mainly talking about major weight-bearing joints, your knees and hips. It also heavily targets the lower lumbar and cervical spine, plus some highly specific spots in the hands and feet, like the base of your big toe.
So the absolutely crucial point here is that this isn't just about getting older. It's actually an active failure of the entire joint system. We're talking bone, synovium, ligaments, muscles, the whole shebang. And this entire pathological cascade gets triggered initially by a patchy, uneven loss of that smooth, frictionless hyaline articular cartilage.
Microscopically, this breakdown happens in a very predictable cascade. First, the tightly woven collagen matrix starts unfurling. It loses key structural proteins, creating deep vertical clefts on the surface. We call that fibrillation. Because the cartilage loses its bounce and compressive stiffness, the underlying subchondral bone takes the absolute brunt of the impact, becoming hardened or sclerotic. Finally, new bone sprouts at the joint margins, forming osteophytes. You probably know them better as bone spurs.
If we zoom in even closer, we see a localized process called mechanoinflammation. The usually quiet cartilage cells, the chondrocytes, wake up, start dividing, and pump out inflammatory alarm bells, like the cytokines IL-1 beta and TNF-alpha. And here's the crazy part. These cells actively start destroying their own shock-absorbing matrix. As that matrix breaks down, abnormal new blood vessels and nerves literally grow right into the usually pristine cartilage.
So what actually tips the scale into failure? Well, it's a perfect storm. Systemic vulnerabilities, things like advancing age, being female, your genetics, or obesity, meet a local mechanical stressor. Usually a systemic factor requires a local trigger to really initiate the disease. That could be a past knee injury, weakness in the surrounding muscles, or repetitive heavy loading. It's that exact combination, an intrinsically vulnerable joint plus abnormal stress.
Section 2. Clinical and functional changes, the patient experience.
While a normal joint moves fluidly, an osteoarthritic joint has pain that is explicitly tied to activity. It gets worse when you bear weight and feels much better with rest. And here is a vital diagnostic clue. The morning stiffness usually lasts less than 30 minutes. If you're seeing stiffness lasting for well over an hour, well, doctors start looking for other culprits, like systemic inflammatory conditions such as rheumatoid arthritis.
When the joint's protective mechanisms completely break down, several classic red flags pop up. The pain sneaks up slowly, over months or even years. You might actually feel a coarse, grating sensation called crepitus as the roughened bones rub against each other. There's localized tenderness and very often noticeable weakness and wasting of the supporting muscles, like the quadriceps.
You can actually see the physical evidence of this functional change, like a dramatic, bow-legged or varus knee deformity. This happens when the cartilage on the inside of the knee completely wears away. The entire mechanical axis of the leg shifts, and that creates a visible deformity that exponentially increases the stress on an already failing joint.
When looking at x-rays, the classic hallmarks spell out the acronym LOSS. L for loss of joint space that's typically uneven. O for osteophytes at the margins. S for subchondral sclerosis or hardening. And the last S for subchondral cysts. But here is a truly surprising fact. Terrible-looking x-rays don't always mean terrible pain. Someone can have severe joint destruction on an x-ray and feel perfectly fine. Or they might have relatively normal x-rays and severe disabling pain. The visual damage correlates incredibly poorly with what the patient actually feels.
Section 3. Spotlight. Generalized nodal osteoarthritis. We're zooming in on a very specific hand variant marked by hard, bony swellings that evolve over years. When they form on the joints nearest your fingertips, the DIP joints, they're called Heberden's nodes. If they pop up on the middle knuckles, the PIP joints, they're Bouchard's nodes. Identifying these hard nodes is crucial, as they are the absolute physical hallmarks of this condition. Because of the asymmetric cartilage loss and robust bone spur formation, the joints literally enlarge and shift. This creates a characteristic gull wing appearance on an X-ray, as the joint shape fundamentally alters and the fingers begin to deviate laterally.
So why does this specific variant matter? Well, it peaks in middle-aged females and has a massive genetic link. Daughters of affected mothers have a 1 in 3 chance of developing it. What's absolutely fascinating is that while the nodes are evolving over a few years, the pain comes in highly episodic flares. But once the node is fully established, the pain often subsides completely and hand function remains surprisingly intact. That said, having these nodes does mean a much higher predisposition for developing knee osteoarthritis later in life.
Section 4. Comprehensive management plan, a stepwise approach.
The golden rule of managing osteoarthritis is this. Conservative physical therapies are the absolute foundation. Education, weight loss, and exercise must be optimized before we even think about moving to medications, and long before considering surgery.
Never underestimate the power of a single pound. 1 pound of weight loss has a massive multiplier effect on reducing mechanical stress across weight-bearing joints like the knee and hip. Because this disease is mechanically driven, altering the load is arguably the single most effective intervention out there.
By strengthening the surrounding muscles, like your quadriceps, you essentially create a biological shock absorber that compensates for the thinned-out cartilage. Low-impact cardiovascular exercise, like hydrotherapy, is also key. And simple biomechanical adjustments work wonders. Think thick-soled shoes or using a walking stick. And remember, you hold that walking stick on the side opposite to the painful joint to properly unload it as you walk.
When physical therapy isn't quite enough, management escalates stepwise. The safest starting point is paracetamol and topical NSAIDs. Systemic oral pills are the next step up, but they require carefully balancing pain relief against stomach and cardiovascular risks. For those really bad acute flares, targeted intra-articular steroid injections offer a safe and effective temporary bridge.
At the end of the line, for severe disabling disease, total joint replacement of the hip or knee is an incredibly successful cure. Sometimes, a surgical osteotomy can correct that malalignment we talked about. But looking to the future, the holy grail is finding disease-modifying osteoarthritis drugs, or DMODs. Researchers are actively looking at pipeline drugs that can block breakdown enzymes like cathepsin K. The goal? To actually halt the structural degradation in its tracks.
We'll leave you with this provocative thought. Healthy cartilage is completely avascular and aneural, meaning it has absolutely zero nerves, so cartilage loss alone doesn't actually hurt. The pain comes from the structures around the cartilage, the stretched capsule, the inflamed synovium, the microfracturing bone. Understanding that pain originates in these surrounding structures might just be the exact key to unlocking the future of true joint preservation. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into osteoarthritis on The Explainer. See you next time.